when you look at the religion and you look at some of the acts of worship that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made compulsory upon us. In fact, when you look at the religion, you find that there are seasons of goodness. In our terms, they are important events or main events. And when you ponder over these acts of worship or these main events, you find that there is generally always preparation for them. So, for example, when you look at the pillars of Islam, imagine if a person was not born as a Muslim. What's the first pillar of Islam? To take the the Shahadatayn. This person is encouraged to look into the religion. They're encouraged to use their intellect, to reason. Allah Jalla wa ala, in many verses of the Quran, He tells the people that believe in the Quran, or if you have some problem with it, try to find fault in it. What is this? This is preparation for a person. This is an encouragement for them to prepare, for them to study, so that they may enter into the religion. That is the first pillar of Islam. When we look at the second pillar of Islam, Salah, we find that this Salah is compulsory upon us 5 times a day. We know that there are 5 compulsory salawat. However, you find that there is preparation required for these 5. Preparation in different forms. So, for example, you've got the wudu, where a person physically cleanses themselves. You've got some of the adhkar that are recited after the wudu, where a person is spiritually cleansing themselves. What is this? This is preparation for the main event. This is preparation for the meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, when a person enters the masjid, you find that there is a voluntary recommended tahiyyatul masjid. According to some opinions, it is voluntary, where they perform 2 units of prayer before sitting down. What is this? This is preparation for the main event. A person may have been in their dunya, outside, seen a lot of distraction, seen a lot of fitna. So the minute they enter the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by them reading those voluntary units of prayer, or the voluntary units of prayer which may be before the compulsory salah, this is all preparation for them. So you find that bi'idhnillah they have sakina. They've begun to concentrate. They've acclimatized, or they've become familiar with their surroundings because they're in the masjid. If you notice, for example, imagine yourself. Remember a time where you came early to the masjid and you had a few minutes, you read some Quran, you maybe performed some voluntary units of prayer. Were you better off in your compulsory salah when you did that, or when you came rushing in trying to catch the first rak'ah? No doubt, the person who had that preparation has a lot more sakina and a lot more peace and concentration. What is this? This is preparation for the meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the form of salah. When you look at zakah, the person is encouraged, firstly, to make sure whatever they are earning is halal. And they encouraged, in fact, they have to work out in terms of what they owe in zakah. What is this? This is preparation. A person hears the virtues of giving zakah. Allah Jalla wa ala encourages us in many different verses. What is this? This is preparing you as a human being for that act of worship. In fact, we have voluntary charity. So sometimes zakah may not be compulsory upon you. However, a person is still encouraged to give voluntarily. And there's many different benefits for that. And one of them is, if they haven't reached the threshold of zakah, this prepares them and allows them to get into the habit of giving. So when they have to give in that which is compulsory, it's easy for them. And if a person compulsory zakah is fard upon them, they still encouraged to give voluntarily. This is preparation. This allows the soul not to be attached to material. So not only do you give your zakah once a year when it's compulsory, you're encouraged throughout the year to carry on giving voluntarily. When you look at Hajj, a pillar of Islam, there's preparation required for it. And you find that there is a minor version of Hajj, which is known as the Umrah. The main pillars of this Umrah are found in Hajj. So what does a person do? You find those who've been for Umrah generally before Hajj, they are a lot more prepared. They've been there. They know the tawaf. They know the masail. They know the ahkam. What's that? Preparation. My beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, the month of Ramadan is around the corner. What can we do whilst we still have time? We've mentioned the importance of preparing. It's important to prepare for this month of Ramadan, the month of the Quran. How does a person prepare? Many different ways. But firstly, when it comes to your spiritual being, make sure that you have healed your soul and your heart from that which is evil, from malice, from jealousy, any diseases that have afflicted or affected your heart. Start trying to purify your heart from now. Get rid of these diseases, because Ramadan is an act of worship, a major event that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made compulsory upon us. And He told us that one of the benefits of fasting is that you attain taqwa. Now imagine this main event coming. You haven't prepared for it. How do you expect to reap the rewards? How do you expect to reap the benefits? It's like if somebody wants to open a business. You find the example of two people. One goes and studies the market, they prepare, they advertise, and they do so many things before opening. And you find the other just decides one day to get up and start selling things on the side of the road. There's a difference between the two. So similarly, when it comes to the month of Ramadan, you've got time. Start preparing yourself spiritually. Also, physically, we are encouraged to fast voluntarily throughout the year. We all know the days. So start fasting before the month of Ramadan, that which is voluntary. So when the month of Ramadan kicks in, you are already used to fasting. When it comes to reciting the Quran, start from now. Because sometimes people think that when the month of Ramadan starts, that's when I'll start. However, because they don't, or they're not used to reciting the Quran, they're unable to. And then they complain of burnout. May Allah protect one and all. And it doesn't mean that you have to do your preparation at the same intensity as you would for the month of Ramadan. And this is quite apparent. So, for example, look at the month of Ramadan. You find the whole month is virtuous. However, the last 10 days are the best. The last 10 nights of Ramadan are the best nights of the year. What does a person do before that? They've already fasted 20 days. They've already got into the rhythm, and then they peak in the last 10 nights. They peak, literally, it's a term used today, where you prepare for something gradually and you anticipate the main event, and when it's there, you exert yourself. But only a person who's trained and prepared is able to do that. So we mentioned spiritual purification. We mentioned physical preparation in terms of voluntary fasting. And if anybody's got outstanding fasts in the form of qada, etc., they are encouraged to make them up now. We mentioned reciting the Quran. Also, when it comes to your salawat, what's compulsory is compulsory. However, that which is voluntary, try to increase. Coming to the masjid, especially for those who are close, those who are able to come. You come to the masjid and you get into the habit. You get used to coming to the masjid. So when the month of Ramadan sets in, you are already used to it. It's not something you have to think about. Also, when it comes to the religion of Islam, you find that as important as preparation is, we just mentioned the 5 pillars of Islam. Many more acts of worship, inshallah, when there's time, we'll mention more of them. But look at the importance of preparation for all these acts of worship, pillars of Islam. And then you find a person, whether they're performing their salah or giving their zakah or fasting the month of Ramadan or going for Hajj, you find that there's the main event. And this person carries out their acts of worship. After that, you find that all these acts of worship and more require maintenance. Maintenance is now the person has peaked. They fasted the month of Ramadan. Do they just wait till the next year? No, they're encouraged to maintain. They're encouraged to fast voluntarily. We have Ashura that comes up and many other occasions. When it comes to Salah, for example, you find that there's voluntary salawat after the compulsory salah. There's azkar that a person recites. What's all this? All are acts of worship, no doubt, but it's a form of maintaining what you just reaped and being on that level. And when you ponder over all these acts of worship that we mentioned, you find that these are all stations in life. So a person prepares for their salah, maintains themselves, as well as other acts of worship. If they had to slip up, there's tawbah. Allah Jalla wa ala always calls us for tawbah. And if you had to zoom out, what's the bigger picture? Allah Jalla wa ala has encouraged you to prepare for all these acts of worship, to carry them out and to maintain yourself and to maintain that level you've reached. What's the bigger picture? The bigger picture is every single thing that you are doing in terms of good, every single good deed that you are doing is a form of preparation for the day you will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a form of preparation for the day you will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And after you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and bi'idhnillah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enter us all in the highest part of Jannah. Say Ameen. Bi'idhnillah, after that, then there is no more maintenance, there is no more taklif, there is no more that which is compulsory. There is where a person, in our terms, rests. That is where there is eternal bliss, and that is the preparation that we all carry out. That is the reason for the struggle in this dunya. That is the reason why a person carries out these acts of worship. Why? Because it's a preparation for the day you will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are preparing for the day of judgment, where Allah Jalla wa ala will gather every single human being. Every single person will be asked about what they did, and nothing will be hidden on that day. So you find in the dunya, a person may be able to deceive others, cheat others, put on a show, put on an appearance, and claim to be that person which they are not in reality. On that day, there will be no hiding. A person will be unable to escape. In fact, a person's limbs will speak against them if they use them to carry out that which is evil. And when you carried out your good deeds and you recited your Quran, you find that all these good deeds, bi'idhnillah, will intercede for you, and they will be a reason for you to enter into Jannah, bi'idhnillah. With those few words, my beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, I encourage myself and yourselves to prepare for the month of Ramadan. It's an opportunity. You'll find that even though there's a little while left, there may be people from amongst us and in other communities, people who we know, who Allah Jalla wa ala has not written for them to witness this coming Ramadan. So whilst you're able to and you've got the opportunity, prepare and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant you goodness. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant you the tawfiq and the acceptance. May Allah Jalla wa ala make or grant us a prosperous Ramadan and make us from those who are entered into the highest parts of Jannah. Ameen.